Greetings. This is Brother Patrick S. Muhammad with Engine of the Nation on National Network View. A recent study shows natural bee honey has considerable antibiotic properties. Here's more on this report.
Honey has been used as a treatment for infection for centuries. It contains natural antibiotics which can kill bacteria. The problem is it's sticky, which means it's very difficult to use in surgery or on a wound.
We're taking it from something that's thick and sticky and turning it into sprays, creams and powders that can be easily applied to lots of different parts of the body.
Honey-based medical gel has already been developed. The team here want to take that idea further.
This is our simulated wound. It's killing the bacteria. Here we have our emulsion that's got the droplets of the honey. And this could be used preventatively as well, so before a surgeon makes an incision.
Would that work potentially as well as an antibiotic prescribed by a doctor?
Yep, so this is an alternative to using an antibiotic. And what's really promising about this honey is that it's already been shown to kill bacteria that are resistant to conventional antibiotics, such as the superbug MRSA.
Now, that was a very interesting video to watch. As we depend on land for necessities of life, we have been taught that correctly prescribed food can heal disease, and honey can be enjoyed in many ways. Well, today, to discuss the humming soldiers and their work, we have a scholar and a member of the NOI research team, Brother Ilia Rashad Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Patrick. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, man, brother, you know, it is indeed an honor and a privilege, first of all, to be able to call you my brother. Tremendous respect from myself, my family, from the work that you do on the research side, on the farming side, and just as a believer. So we are extremely proud to have the opportunity to have you on Engine of the Nation today.
Man, the pleasure and the honor, as I promise you, is all mine. And the feeling is certainly mutual.
Oh, praise is due to Allah. Well, today is going to be exciting because guess what? We get a chance to talk to you about an aspect of your work in the nation that some may be familiar with and some may not be familiar with, and that's your love for beekeeping. Tell us how this came about.
I'll give you the short version. The short version started as I developed a love for gardening. I'm a city boy, grew up in the city of Memphis here, and growing up in the city, didn't have a lot of, farming or gardening going on, except for remember my grandmother and her backyard, and my mother did a little, but that was about as far as it went. But about 12 maybe years or so ago, somewhere around 2009-ish, I one summer just developed a little plot in my backyard to try to dibble and dabble into gardening. I planted some plants, and lo and behold, things grew. That, as simple as that sounds, that was one of the most mind-blowing things to me.
Wow.
And my love for gardening, already having a love and appreciation for land acquisition. My parents instilled that in me. And of course, the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and being a follower of the minister prompted me to value land, the acquisition of land, and the usage of land, starting with growing our own foods. So something as simple as planting a few vegetable plants in the ground, and they ended up growing and yielding some fruit. That in and of itself was mind-blowing. So I started gardening and trying to experiment and doing something different and doing a little more every year. But as you learn about how things grow and how plants grow, you find out that they are inherently tied to the health of bees, particularly honeybees.
Wow.
And it's the bees that pollinate the crops that make these plants healthier, that make these plants more fertile and able to produce. And once I found out that the honeybees play an integral part in the growth and development of the plants that I had in my garden and elsewhere, I was
Hmm.
like, oh, I need to find a way to get into this. And lo and behold, I had a colleague who was into beekeeping, and that started the journey. I started doing research, and before I ever even touched bees, I did just a lot of research and observation, and I built enough confidence to give it a try. And here
Wow.
we are.
Wow. Wow. So, um, in the city of Memphis, and if we didn't say you're in Memphis, Tennessee, that's
Mhm.
miles number 55, correct?
That's correct. A
Five,
double
five,
nickel.
double, double nickel. And so, in the city of Memphis, are there any hoops that you have to go to? Like someone says, like I own bees, right? Bees are flying all over, but to have a large hive and that the number of bees that are around a hive, what kind of hoops did you have to jump through as it relates to having bees in the city?
Not many at all. Memphis, like pretty much every other city or populated town throughout this country, all of them have some type of laws and ordinances. They
Hmm.
may not apply directly or specifically toward bees and beekeeping, but
Hmm.
every city or town has basic nuisance laws
Hmm.
and things and safety precautions. And the only real hoops or loops that I would have to jump through is just making sure that things are safe. And when somebody gets involved in beekeeping, especially in an urban area or a
Hmm.
heavily populated area, you just want to keep those basic common sense principles in mind, knowing that most people already don't have a full knowledge of bees and they don't
Hmm.
like anything that stings. I don't care what it is. They don't know that bees are not chasing after them. They people have no idea of that. They think bees just want to sting me. Uh, so the best way to do is to make sure that if you do have a beehive, set it up in a decent place, basically kind of like an out of sight, out of mind thing,
Hmm.
where it would be a direct threat to people or pets or anything.
Hmm. So, as you said with the bees, it's an initial fear factor. So, tell me some fears that you have overcome as it relates to keeping the bees, going into the hive, just the fear of trying to farm and produce something. So, tell me how you've overcome, experienced some of those challenges as it relates to fear. Did you hear me, Brother Rashad? Brother Rashad? Did I lose you? Okay, I think.
Okay.
Oh, there he is.
Um,
We're back
I
in.
think I was able to get that question. I think you were going in and out there for a second there, but naturally, I, like anybody, would have some fear of
Mhm,
bees. After all, these things can sting. That's the way that Allah has. Yes, can you all hear me?
mhm.
Uh-oh. Oh, hope
I
you can
got
hear
you.
me okay.
Rashad. Okay, so
But
we
if you
lost
can
Brother
hear me,
Rashad just a
I'll
little bit, but
continue
there you
that
go.
the
Yeah, right.
way that I overcame. Okay. All right. Can you hear me okay? All right.
Mhm,
So the way that I overcame this fear is really by becoming more knowledgeable and knowing the nature of these creatures,
mhm,
knowing that it is in their nature, like everything that Allah God has made, to have its own defense mechanisms, and the bees have a stinger. So the
mm,
fact that they can sting is enough reason, maybe not to fear, but at least be cautious.
mhm,
But once you understand the nature and temperament and behavior and functions of these creatures,
mhm,
then you are more capable of how to handle them,
mhm,
and by knowing how to handle them and how to approach them, you can significantly minimize whatever possible dangers and stings that they would naturally occur. Part of that comes with the protective equipment, the
Mm-hmm.
bee suits and smokers and all of that. But the main thing that overcomes the fear is one, a knowledge of these creatures, but also a love for Allah's creation. And
Mm-hmm.
the love really is the number one thing, because when you know their value and appreciate what they do for us, now we become stewards of God's creation. And
Mm-hmm.
that puts us in a position where we have to have the mind of taking care of these creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And that tends to remove fear when you love something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
love and knowledge.
Wow, wow. And so going right into, and you're going to kind of catch this pace. So that was fear. Let's talk about faith, because we know that the bee is somewhere inside of the Holy Quran. Tell me and
Mm.
share with our viewing audience, where have you seen faith exercised in your pursuit of managing the bees?
You know, the bee truly is a magnificent creature. So much so that Allah, God, names an entire surah or chapter after this creature in the Holy Quran,
Mm-hmm.
Surat al-Nahl, or the 16th chapter. And in this chapter, God tells us about aspects of this creature,
Mm-hmm.
its inner workings, its behaviors,
Mm-hmm.
its even anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
So much of this information that Allah revealed to us in the Holy Quran was not known in modern science until about a little over 100 years ago.
Wow.
So what Allah gave us, and part of the what Allah revealed in the Holy Quran, he lets us know that these creatures called the bees
Mm-hmm.
are recipients of divine revelation. It is Allah who directs their path.
Mm-hmm.
It is Allah who, put in them the nature to build homes in trees and in caves and in that which men have built. It's
Mm-hmm.
Allah who guides them to go to the different plants and flowers and consume the nectar and pollen and transfer it into their bellies, as the Quran say, mix it with enzymes to make it a healing beverage.
Wow.
And
Wow.
with the report that you played toward the beginning of this video,
Mm-hmm.
of this meeting, was proof of that.
Mm-hmm.
So much that Allah had already revealed to us in the Holy Quran that modern scientists are just now finding out. Modern scientists only in the last 100 years or so have found out about the antibiotic properties, the antifungal, the antiseptic properties, not only of honey, but of the other products that the bees make, of the beeswax, of what's called propolis or bee glue,
Mm-hmm.
what's called royal jelly, which is a food substance, what's called bee bread. I mean, all of these things that have healing
Mm-hmm.
properties in them. So much so that your big cosmetic companies and pharmaceutical companies are um, profiting from what the bees produce.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something for us to look at. So Allah put these creatures on this for us, and that in and of itself, studying the bee and attempting to manage or be stewards of these creatures in and of itself is divine spiritual insight.
Wow. Wow. Now, one of the truths that I need you to let me know if it is true. What is the honey? Is the honey where they place their babies, and then as a byproduct? Like, do the bees know that they've created this thing called honey, or is
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. Honey is derived from the nectar that is in plants, particularly certain flowering plants. And in those flowering plants is a nectar source that contains water and contains a type of sugar that's mostly in like a sucrose base. It also contains what are called phytonutrients.
Mhm.
Phytonutrients are basically nutrients and minerals and vitamins that are naturally in plants.
Mm,
Plants have nutrients that they absorb from the soil and produce in themselves. Most plants have different type of natural immune boosters.
mhm.
This is why plants are not taken all the way down and eaten up by bugs and critters, because they have a natural immunity that they build with
Wow.
nutrients and whatnot. Well, when the bees extract nectar from these different plants, they're extracting also some of those nutrients or phytonutrients and natural chemicals.
Mhm.
And they consume it, store it in, as the Quran says, their bellies, and they take it back to the hive and while it's in their bellies, these are like little engineering machines that
Come on.
Allah has made for us.
Mhm.
While it's in their bellies, it's mixed with certain enzymes that produces it more in the form of the honey that we see. They deposit it in the hexagon shaped cells,
Mhm.
and they get out all the moisture and kind of concentrate it, and then they seal it, you know. And they make enough for not only for themselves to survive throughout the winter, but they'll also uh, make a surplus
Mhm.
typically.
Mhm.
And that's where we come in. You know, Allah lets us know that all of his creation is made subservient to thee.
Mm, mm, mm.
Or in other words, everything in creation is directly or indirectly made to serve man.
Yes, sir. And I see that with my form of the livestock. And sometimes people are amazed, when they come out and they see, my 9-year-old moving a cow, or my daughter, can control a
I'm amazed by that.
and
That's why you see me liking and sharing all your posts, man.
yeah.
I'm amazed by that, bro.
And listen, we have zero experience. It's only from the inspiration of the Honorable Minister Louis
Mm.
that what's inside of us, or our ancestors, has given us the ability and the confidence to stand and exercise our dominion over the beast, the fowl, and the earth. And so share with our listening audience and our viewing audience how your relationship with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has inspired this work that you're in now.
I,
Okay. So we just got a
okay,
little way from Georgia to Tennessee, but he got it.
I got it. Yeah. So, like you said and suggested, what we are doing and what Allah is blessing us to do, and I marvel at how Allah is blessing you and your family to go from being an educator and a very wonderful educator, which you still are, but to be in those almost corporate like settings, to be inspired by the wisdom and divine guidance that Allah has given to Minister Farrakhan for us is truly amazing, because it makes us true humanitarians,
Mm,
true environmentalists,
mm,
true stewards of God's creation. And in truth, it makes us truly become gods.
mm,
And I say that with humility, because when Allah, God, allows you to manage and cultivate,
mhm,
and in some cases, master
mhm,
his creation, he's allowing us to have some experience in practicing our godship.
mm, mm. Wow.
I don't know if I just went out there or what, but
Oh,
we are getting experience in
mhm.
practicing our godship.
Wow. Wow. Speaking of cultivation, so I was able to identify some of that produce that you were holding up. And, I think it might have originated from a certain location. We'll keep that as a disclaimer. But you started growing garlic. Tell me the inspiration of the garlic.
Absolutely. Well, garlic, like so many other fruit and vegetables and root crops, has a lot of medicinal qualities. And again, I was inspired, and we were inspired by Minister Farrakhan. And I recall you and I being together a few years ago
Mm-hmm.
at the Michigan Farm for an agricultural conference
Yes, sir.
held by the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, and of course our great and powerful Sister Betsy Jean Farrakhan,
Mm-hmm.
who manages and pretty much runs the farm. And along with the many things that was shared, one of the things that kind of stood out was the garlic.
Yes.
And there's so much into garlic that it's one, like we said, it's healthy. It has its own medicinal properties.
Mm-hmm.
It grows. It's a very giving type of crop. So I was inspired to definitely grow garlic. And um, I didn't start right away a few years ago. I started
Mm-hmm.
maybe about 3 years or so ago. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful journey. And I recall having a conversation um, just after the Criterion in July of this year with
Mm-hmm.
Minister Farrakhan. And we were talking about garlic. And he said, and I was sharing how we've been learning to use different parts of the garlic for different things. We can use the scape, we can use the stem, we can use the bulb, we can use the flowers. I'm like, we're using all of these things. We even used it for decoration. And the minister said these words. He reminded us, he said, Allah is not prodigal.
Mm.
Allah is not wasteful.
Wow.
We can learn so much just by studying his creation and how he does things.
Wow.
Nothing is wasted in Allah's way.
Allahu Akbar. Before we go into some of your future endeavors as it relates to farming and beekeeping, I wanted to just touch on one piece you mentioned earlier on acquiring the land. And so, in the city limits, people look at vacant lots as a blight to the city or whatever. But your lens is different when you are around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So tell me how you've gone about acquiring um, plots of land within city limits.
Thank you. And again, thanks to the inspiration of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his servant, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, for constantly inspiring us with what Allah has given to us. So much of which is simply common sense. We're taught that land is the basis of all real freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be truly free unless you have land, because everything comes from the land. That's really why they call it real estate, right?
Yeah.
Because everything else is practically an illusion. You got your car, and the value of the car can appreciate and depreciate, and all of this can appreciate and depreciate. But with land, it can always be cultivated. With land, with some of this earth to call our own, you can always have the potential of doing something from it, because everything that sustains our life and our livelihood comes from this earth.
Wow.
So, in my attempt to practice striving to become godly,
Mm-hmm.
I, who mindful on a teacher salary, which ain't much, I
Amen.
was able, I was able to acquire some vacant lots not too far from me. I live in the hood, so these vacant lots that I have, most of them are in walking distance. you
Wow.
know, and yes, they were a blight to the community, but Allah tells us something in our lessons about the useful land. So
Mm-hmm.
we don't want to acquire land and just let it be not useful.
Hmm.
but we want to settle on the best part, and we want to take that blighted property and use it to transform it, not only that property to do something for self, but to make our own neighborhoods and communities a safe and decent place to live, to beautify our community and be productive at the same time. So with these vacant lots that we were able to acquire from the city, and some of these we did just for a few $1,000. This,
Wow.
it was a burden on the city. The
Right.
city, it cost the city, perhaps more than that just to try to maintain it and cut the grass and
Mhm.
things like that. So nobody else seemed to want it. Nobody else seemed to be concerned about the blight in our community. So I was able to scrape up a little change, and we developed over the few years. Right now, including my home property, we have like 2.5 acres or so, and
Wow.
this is an urban city,
Wow.
combined acres
Yes.
from about 4 different lots or so.
Wow. Wow. And just that work that you're doing is an example of what many around the world are doing from the teaching of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And one way that we continue to fight the blight inside of the community is with the Final Call newspaper. So check out this commercial about the Final Call newspaper.
Greetings. This is Tarika Shakir Muhammad with National Network View. This week's Final Call cover story reads, Black America, Surviving the Enemy's Death Plot. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan warned of genocidal plots aimed at our communities during a recent virtual Black Leadership Summit, where Black activists, thinkers, leaders, and scholars worked towards a united front. As the minister supported this work, he also outlined our enemy's deadly efforts to destroy Black people through unsafe vaccines, environmental hazards, corporate wrongdoing, and a lack of access to healthy foods. To read this vital warning in its entirety, subscribe to finalcalldigital.com.
And thank you. And that report on the Final Call newspaper. Now, Brother Rashad, we know that you are an avid author, right? I mean, your books. If you don't have your books and our other nations brothers' books on your shelf, like we have to check your nation's card, right? But in that,
I like that.
you are beginning to produce services for those interested in gardening and farming. So, can you tell us a little bit about what you have in store for those that are interested?
Absolutely, absolutely. As you kind of alluded to, I'm one of those brothers that has my hands in a little bit of everything. So I'm always multitasking. But one of the things that we've been focusing on right now is preparing. And this is because I get questions all the time when people find out that I'm a beekeeper. One, they're surprised because they thought I was some pretty boy or something. They thought all I do is read books and write books, and I'm some
Right.
scholar or something, and I go around speaking at colleges and all that. So when they find out that I'm a beekeeper, and I'm certain it was just like that with you,
Yep. Yes.
here
Yes.
you are, a principal, this educated, scholarly principal
Right.
who left the public school system to a degree,
Yep.
to I'm a straight farmer with
Yep.
no previous experience. So all of that is something. So when people find out I'm a beekeeper, they become very surprised, but naturally they become inquisitive and
Hmm.
they want to know what inspired you to do that. What made you do that? Especially you. I mean, are you on hard times or something? So, uh, but there's a growing consciousness among people,
Hmm. Hmm.
a health consciousness, a social consciousness, and people are realizing that the bees are inherently tied to humanity's well-being,
Mm.
right? And the more we learn the truth about how necessary honeybees are and how healing medicinally and otherwise their products are,
Mhm.
Now people are seeing how beneficial and necessary beekeeping is. And there are some who realize how profitable it can be.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, people inquire to me about how they could become beekeeper, or maybe they just want to learn something about it. So as a result of all of these inquiries, um, we are launching in early January
Okay. Okay.
beekeeping course. It's
Wow.
going to be an online beginner beekeeping course. And I'm using both my knowledge and experience as a beekeeper and as an educator to make a solid curriculum,
Mhm.
which we are already doing, to make it presentable and easy to learn and step-by-step processes so that people can actually build confidence in
Mhm.
becoming an urban beekeeper or a hobbyist beekeeper, whether you're on a
Mhm.
farm, whether you're in an urban industrialized type of area.
Mhm.
This is something that can and should be done.
Mhm.
And the Honorable Minister Farrakhan told me, I was blessed to be with him at the farm. This was, maybe 2 years ago. We
Wow.
were talking about beekeeping and the bees, and he expressed his pleasure in what we were doing. And he shared that we need to share these practices, these good practices, all over the country. Well, I think that God has set the conditions all around the country to
Wow.
make people want to find ways to live more sustainably,
Mhm.
to be able to grow their own food, to be able to keep their own bees, to
Mhm.
be able to produce their own honey for their own purposes, as well as being able to sell it and profit from it. It's a win, 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 win situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Having a beehive is like a natural vending machine. So since people have been asking me about that, it's like common sense. Like, duh, let me do this online beginner beekeeping course for beekeeping hobbyists. And so that'll be launching this upcoming January, which is really a few weeks away.
Absolutely.
And we are making it available. We're going to be putting information out.
Okay.
But meanwhile, if somebody wants to find out now, they can visit our Nation Brothers website and check out our contact form.
Okay. So give that website out because I know some people want to get to the front of the line.
Yes, and
So,
there's already like a wait list. That lets
right.
me
Right.
know that this is the right thing to be doing.
Right.
So right,
Nationbrothers.com. Right.
yes, nationbrothers.com. And on the side, it has the different pages, and you can go to the contact us page.
Uh huh.
Or the contact us page, you just ask for your name and email and a comment section. And in that comment section, just put beekeeping to let us know that you might be interested in our upcoming beekeeping course and might want to learn something about how you or somebody you know would be interested in keeping bees.
Awesome. Awesome. So, in
Uh-oh.
our uniqueness of being FOI and MGT, there's this nostalgia about us. And, people are always waiting for us to, become what they have heard we are, right? Or show us, and, we're ordinary people who believe in a living man and a living God. And so, we know change happens and we're willing to change, right?
Mhm.
Um, Tell me one thing that you wish people knew and understood about you.
Man, you know what? It's interesting because I don't know. I'm just a regular dude, I'm that regular dude that come up just like so many others of us who is being saved,
Mm,
in the truest sense. I like I said, I grew up right here, a city boy, struggled in school. I've shared before that I failed 3 times. I failed English and failed other classes. I failed my grade 3 times, where I had to go to summer school 3 years in a row just to graduate on time.
Wow.
So if it were not for the voice of the Honorable Minister Farrakhan and hearing that voice, that was the wisest and best thing that could have ever happened to me, because his voice changed my whole orientation of mind to the point where that brother who was a failure in the public school system ended up teaching the same courses that he failed in the public school system, which was English. And not only that, but that brother who failed English and failed school has now, thanks to the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, become a widely respected author of books that has world scholars, running for cover, because we have been blessed to be able to vindicate and prove the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad with empirical data, not some interpretations, not some, I believe in my mind. Hell no, we deal with actual facts, scientific and empirical evidence that prove that Elijah Muhammad met the supreme being. So we've been blessed to go from all of that, go from that failure to being able to be a tool of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is the instrument of God.
Yes.
So I'm thankful for hearing his voice. I'm thankful for what I and we are becoming, because this is just the beginning of this journey.
Right.
I'm just excited about that.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I know has been extremely vital and important.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Extremely vital and important to me and in this quest to become a steward of the land and the animals, etc., is family, and how important my family has been to this journey. So please share with us how and what role your family plays in the aspects of beekeeping and farming.
I am lucky and fortunate, blessed to be able to have a wonderful family, a beautiful Muslim wife with several children that she's given me, and these children who are very talented, in their own different ways, and very wise in their different endeavors. Yet they try to find time to help dad in some of his endeavors. And the beekeeping thing became not just something that dad was into. Now it's something that, the family, everybody plays their little parts in beekeeping. My children are very instrumental, because one thing about beekeeping, especially in the hot summer, and you got on a big bee suit and whatnot, you have a lot of hives that you're tending to, man. It could be exhausting, it could be hot, and you would need some help.
Right.
And I learned that this past summer more than any other summer. So I thank Allah for my family, my wife, and our children, because they see the value in it. And since they see the value in it, they see the value in nation building, because the bees give us a good sign, as Allah tells us in the Holy Quran. After it talks about the bees, he lets us know surely there are signs and lessons for those who reflect on this creature.
Absolutely. All praise due to Allah. So with that being said, are there any products that you all have produced from the bees? Can we order your honey?
Look,
what we can do?
I'm going to tell you how much in demand true, real honey is. I'm afraid to even market honey. Honestly, that's like a good problem.
Right.
Because it seems like it's so difficult for my supply to keep up with the demand. That's why, I may talk about beekeeping, but I don't even be posting my honey and stuff too much online anymore, because everybody wants it.
That's why you ain't seen no steaks online right now.
Thank you. And not only that, but I've been blessed to, my honey has been desired by celebrities and dignitaries. So, I'm like, wow, this is something. And again, that's another reason why
Mm,
we felt the need to come up with this online beekeeping course so that we can teach people how to fish instead of just giving them the fish all the time. And there
true.
are some who are more than willing to learn how to become a beekeeper so that they can not only be producing their own honey, but they can be selling and profiting from it as well. But a
Wow.
lot blesses us. It's so majestic. You know, we bottle some of our last bottles um, just this past weekend. And I'm gonna
Wow.
tell you, every process of the beekeeping stage, it's worth marveling at.
Mm,
My wife and I, my children, they helped as we extracted the honey, as we harvested the honey, as we as we filtered the honey and bottled the honey, and every aspect of it just makes you want to reflect in awe. Like,
mm,
you mean those bees
mm, mm.
made this?
Wow.
It's
Wow.
powerful.
Wow.
It's powerful, bro.
Well, it hasn't been such an honor just to hear the joy that comes from your spirit as you talk about beekeeping and this process. And there's no greater joy than when a man or woman have found their purpose.
Mm,
And like I know now, like this is my purpose, right? So
yeah,
hearing another colleague in that same vein, like I can feel it. What would if you had one last word to say to our viewing audience, what would that be?
man. You know what? Listen and take heed to the wisdom and guidance that God has given us through that servant of his, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Because just listening and heeding that wisdom is indeed life changing for the better. You would be surprised how God will bring things out of us that we had no idea
Mm,
within us. You could not have told me or anybody that knows me that I would even have anything to do with gardening, let alone beekeeping and loving it, you
wow.
know.
I figured.
So just by finding purpose, and that you discover even more purpose to your life when you connect with God's servant among us. So I'm thankful to him, and I'm
Mhm.
thankful to you, brother Patrick,
Oh,
because a few weeks ago I was blessed to have a conversation with the minister, and we brought you up in the
oh,
conversation
oh,
because part of what we were talking about had so much to do with bees and productivity and beekeeping. And we brought up brother Patrick just
mm,
outside of Atlanta, his family.
oh,
And I was reminding him of your story about
mm,
how this brother, an educator, a principal, doing well, but he was inspired by the minister who taught us the value of land, who taught us the value of farming, who taught us the value of true freedom and doing for self. And
mm,
this brother, you,
mm,
with no experience, made a 180-degree move, you
mm.
know, to become a farmer, which is make you a more of an educator than you ever were.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
I'm thankful to
Wow.
you, thankful for this opportunity, big brother, and I'm certain it will not be the last.
That'll be the last. And you know what? To have the honor of a man and a brother like you represent and represent me to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I feel as if I was there in the moment because I know your heart and I know your spirit. And my family thanks you. To be in his presence and consider your brother, Allah will continue to reward you and your family for a spirit
Mm.
like that. So, but could you tell us where others can find you on social media?
Well, we're on social media. In fact, the Nation Brothers website that I directed all of those who are interested from our Nation Brothers website, we also have Nation Brothers on Twitter. That's at Nation Brothers and Instagram. aside from my personal pages, Ilia Rashad, on Twitter and Instagram, we have Nate Brothers too. And so feel free to contact me, message, inbox, or just tweet or IG comment. Let us know if you are interested in these beekeeping courses. The easiest way would be to go to nationbrothers.com and go to our contact us page and fill out the brief contact form. And in the comments section, just put beekeeping, and that'll let us know that you might be interested in our upcoming beekeeping course.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, guess what? You heard it here first on Engine of the Nation, Fear, Faith, and Truth. Our brother Ilia Rashad did a wonderful job, revolutionary gardening. And we thank you for joining this feature of Engine of the Nation. We look forward to having you back very soon. Remember, farming is the first profession, and you have the opportunity to participate in that first profession. We thank you for tuning in to NNV News. Please share your thoughts with us in the comment section below, and follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel at NNV News. I'm Brother Patrick Muhammad, signing off with NNV News, Engine of the Nation. See you next week. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.
Be a part of the force that powers truth in journalism. Your support helps to combat false media. Cash App NNV News.
The nation must acquire land. Production of food, clothing, and shelter. Freedom is independent agriculture. Farming is the engine of the nation.